According to global media reports, the Dubai real estate market may crash in 2026. But we have the data here that clearly shows that this statement can be further from truth. For example, there is a couple of property types that are appreciating 20% year over year, and data tells us they're not gonna stop. So in this video, I'll tell you about the biggest trends of 2025, will they continue in 2026, and which property types you should add to your shortlist in the coming year. Starting with the trend number 1, rise in risk of the market crash. In 2025, it became increasingly common to criticize Dubai real estate market and predicting the market crash. Moody's, Bloomberg, Reuters, Fitch, all of them were talking about the oversupply and were predicting a correction. We were arguing with them all this time, and literally a year ago we posted a video where I was predicting 41,000 units delivered in 2025 and no correction. And now when 2025 is coming to an end and we have the real data, we can compare the numbers, we can compare the predictions and see how the market played out. In the report Fitch published in 2025, they were expecting 90,000 residential units to be delivered by the end of the year. Now, by the end of December 2025, we can see that this number ended up to be much lower, around 40,000 residential units. That's the normal state of things for the UAE property market. Less than 50% of units get built on time. So the supply shifts towards the future, and we expect to see the same in 2026 and 2027. Also, there was another part of this trend of predicting pessimistic results. It was related to rental rates. Some news agencies were claiming that rental rates in Dubai are falling. It was explained as the first sign of the correction, and the biggest wave of such news were around August-September 2025. The reports were saying that the rental rates are falling, that the affected areas are Jumeirah Village Circle, Jumeirah Village Triangle, Arjan, Marjan, The Greens and Dubai South. The fall was happening in the summer of 2025, and they claimed that this was the first fall like that since 2020. We'll show you the data we collected back then. The fall was real. In many areas, the rental rates decreased in the middle of the summer. But a closer look shows that this is actually normal. Take a look at this chart. It shows the month-over-month dynamics of rental rates in downtown. The red line is 2025. From June to July, the rental rates decreased by 6%. But the same thing happened in 2024 and before that in 2023. Next chart is Dubai Marina. 4% month-over-month decrease in June to July in 2025, 2024 and 2023. Same tendency in Creek Harbor, same in Al Jadaf and Dubai Land Residence Complex. This is a seasonal thing that literally happens every summer. In reality, rental rates are growing year over year. If we compare summer 2024 with summer 2025, then the rates are up to 10% higher, depending on the neighborhood. And since 6 months ago, all the areas that decreased in terms of rental rates in the middle of the summer gained this difference back and increased even more. And going forward, we think that this pessimistic trend in the media will continue. We'll certainly see a lot of new negative titles because they attract readers, but at the same time the economy will be growing. UAE GDP growth forecast is plus 5% in 2026, and the real estate market will continue steadily growing. Because if we take a look at the real supply, then we're gonna see 3.7 units per each new residence delivered in the coming years. This is pretty much the same what we saw over the last 4 years. On average, developers were handing over 3.5 units per each new resident. So the supply and demand balance in the coming years is gonna be the same as it was during the period of rapid growth. But will all areas and all types of units show tremendous growth? Of course not. So let's talk about the next trend, overhyped waterfront. Everybody knows that waterfront real estate is awesome. Apartments in Blue Waters, The Palm, GBR have shown tremendous growth, and generally, beachfront properties are super attractive not just in Dubai, they're very demanded around the world. So foreign investors from the US, from Canada, from Europe, for them this concept of investing in waterfront properties is super clear. But developers, they know that, and they actively use that in 2025. That's why we had a rise of what I call fake beachfront projects. And they're fake because developers are creating promotional images of the properties on the first beach row. It looks like there is a beach, like your apartment or your villa will be right near the coastline. But this was not the sea. Actually, these projects, they're pretty deep into the desert. So what developers were doing, they were building artificial lagoons, which are in simple words are swimming pools with sand and sometimes with waves imitation. Obviously, this is not the same as being in the real beachfront area, and if it was the only reason why you invested in a specific project, then you can be a bit disappointed with the results. But what's also interesting is what's happening with real beachfront properties, because we know that throughout the years, they were growing crazy fast in Dubai. But in 2025, this is not always the case. We'll show you the chart with several main beachfront areas in Dubai and their value growth in 2025 versus the average growth of an average apartment in Dubai. And some areas were doing well, some were doing alright, and some were growing slower than the market. This is the reality of the current Dubai's market. All those areas have been growing pretty nicely, but now prices there are quite high. And if you're an investor who wants to get the maximum value appreciation, you should look into new areas, like Dubai Islands. Their prices are much lower, the area is at the early stage of its development, and the price growth rate in Dubai Islands is on another level compared to developed areas. There are no ready properties there, so we can compare off-plan only, and in 2025, on average, prices were 24% higher compared to the prices of 2024. This is a common trend of the area, and it's also a trend within certain developers. Those who are launching several projects in Dubai Islands showed the same price increase trend, and we're 100% sure that this trend will continue. Now only 30% of the planned units in Dubai Islands is launched, meaning they sold just 30% of what they're gonna sell there throughout the years. So we have at least a couple of years of consistent price increases by developers, and those investors who are getting into the projects now, they will benefit from that. And in 2025, there was another property type that showed amazing results and shows a lot of promise for 2026. Trend number 3, rapidly growing villas. In 2025, we often showed you the data that illustrated the potential of villas as a market segment. And now we have the factual numbers that are showing that the growth is not stopping. By the way, if you want to learn more about the Dubai's real estate market performance in 2025 in numbers and facts, you can get our special report. It has all the key performance indicators related to 2025 and key predictions for 2026. So if you're planning to invest in the coming year, I highly recommend you to check it out. Now back to villas. So we know that over the years, they were showing quite decent growth. Since 2022 until the end of 2025, the average villa appreciated in value by 65%. Apartments growth over the same period of time was 28%. And if we make a zoom in 2025, then we see the same trend. An average one-bedroom apartment has grown in value by 9%, an average four-bedroom villa by 21%. So both short-term and long-term, villas are growing 2 times faster than apartments. This is not just the general market trend, we also see that on a micro level. For example, when we take a look at the areas that have both apartments and villas, villas are growing 2 times faster than apartments. For example, in Dubai Hills, the year-over-year growth for apartments was 9%. The year-over-year growth for villas was 21%. In 2026, the trend should continue because of the supply side of things. We'll show you the table with the number of villas sold per year. Take a closer look at the right column. It shows the share of villas in the total of planned sales. In 2021, almost 30% of all residential units sold at the off-plan stage were villas. Now, in 2025, this share is just 17%, so the relative supply of villas have gone down. And what's even more interesting is that in 2026 and 2027, the share of villas in the delivered units is gonna be even lower. It's gonna be around 11%. And when you take a look at 2028, the share of houses in the projected supply is 23%, but the big portion of those houses are low-cost townhouses. So we expect that true villas and good quality houses will remain scarce and will keep appreciating in value significantly faster than the market. And there is another property type that's gonna show same potential, maybe even higher promise for the future. Trend number 4, undersupply of commercial real estate. Offices in Dubai have historically outperformed the residential units. But in 2025, all the key metrics reached a level when it should become obvious to everyone that commercial real estate, and offices in particular, is a very lucrative investment. Take a look at the offices vacancy rates by years: Grade C, Grade B, Grade A, and prime offices. The vacancy rates have never been that low. For prime and Grade A offices, it's just 2 and 3.4%, meaning 96–98% of top quality and top concept offices are occupied. No wonder the rental rates are growing that fast. Here's another graph. It shows the growth of rental rates for different office types throughout the years. And of course, there is a correlation with the previous chart. These numbers are their historic highs. So these were 5 big years for commercial real estate, and 2025 was a big year too. The year-over-year growth of value of offices was 21.5%. That's 4 times higher than an average apartment. Rental rates are pretty good too. Rent-to-price ratio for an average office is around 7.5%. This is significantly higher than apartments in Dubai. And it's also much higher compared to offices in other countries, roughly 50% more than in New York, London, Singapore, and other places. Professional investors know about these numbers, and they were actively buying new off-plan units, new offices that had been launching in Dubai. And then there was a tension with Iran attacking Qatar. At the same moment, Omni had almost sold out their office tower. This shows that professional investors have extremely high level of confidence. And here is why. This chart shows the current office supply and the projection for the future. Even if all the units that are currently planned will be delivered on time, which as we know never happens, then the supply will grow just by 16% by 2028. Just for comparison, residential supply is supposed to grow by 50% over the same period of time. And at the same time, the demand is growing faster than ever. 40,000 new companies got registered in Dubai in 2025, and the forecast is that the number of businesses operating in Dubai is gonna grow by 40% by 2028. That's why we expect that this market segment will continue growing rapidly, undersupplied and with tremendous demand. And now let's speak about another trend that also creates huge demand for a certain type of Dubai real estate. Trend number 5 is millionaire migration. Dubai is the world's leader in terms of the number of millionaires arriving to the city. It's number 1 in the global ranking because around 10,000 millionaires and billionaires moved to the UAE in 2025. At the same time, many countries are losing their wealthiest citizens because of the economical situation, because of the taxes. So now thousands of people are moving away from Russia, from South Korea, from India, China, and of course United Kingdom. And because of favorable taxes, ease of doing business, high level of safety, and high quality of life, many of them choose Dubai as their destination. And it's not a new trend. It was like that for many years. Roughly 40,000 millionaires moved to Dubai over the last 10 years. But in 2025, this growth accelerated. 10,000 is the historically highest number. And obviously it helps the real estate market. Prime areas, the most expensive areas, are growing faster than any other area in Dubai. Al Barari, Jumeirah Bay, Palm Jumeirah, Emirates Hills, Jumeirah Islands, all of them have shown a more than 100% growth over the last 5 years. And data shows because the ultra-luxury segment will keep growing. We see the indication of the growing demand, but let's take a look what's happening on the supply side. If we calculate all the units that are priced at 10 million dirhams or more, that's roughly 2.7 million US dollars. Then their share in the total residential supply in Dubai is just 0.5%. This is a proxy number of ultra-luxury units because there are also units that were sold long time ago and were upgraded since then They are not in this selection, but they will not change this number that much. But what's most important is what happens if we calculate the same ratio for the future supply. So we take all the residential units that are priced 10 million dirhams or more, plus all the units that are sold but not delivered, that are also priced at 10 million dirhams or more, and we see that in the future supply, the share of ultra-luxurious units will stay the same. And in this segment, there were several very high potential opportunities launched in the end of 2025, and there are some that will be launched in the first quarter of 2026. If you want to learn about one of them, check out this video.